We tried to stay as journalistically accurate as we possibly could, and we had the benefit of having the real-life Tami be involved in the script development and in the writing, and she was the first person we sent pages to as we were writing and when we finished. So
she did a set for 3 weeks in Fiji. So, you know, there's certain practical location things in the real story. She now it's a river gorge. In her book, they were kissing in a waterfall. So there's things that practical and safety locations had to change and stuff like that. But
the spirit, the dialogue, the heart, the themes, the emotion, and even just feeling like you're on that boat with her, we tried to make as authentic to her real emotional journey as possible. It's way more journalistic in the approach. So when you're, when the sky's the limit and it's your own, you can invent from whole cloth, then you come up with Moana, right? And then when you're writing a real story, then you want to try to, at least we do, we have a background in journalism, try to be as true to the facts and the details and the heart of and emotions of that story. So it is a checks and balances system of kind of fact checking and making sure that you're staying authentic. The most difficult aspect, I think, is balancing kind of the feeling of this grand, sweeping cinematic love story and feeling that primal sense of attraction and romance and putting that against the primal feeling of life and death stakes when you're out on the ocean and you're stuck on a boat with two people. And that's, like love, often people think it should be smooth sailing, and it's not. It's a hurricane. Like real love, you have to go through high seas and heavy waves and storms, and you have to weather those storms if you're really going to come through with a true, authentic love, and that's what this movie's about.
So finding for us that balance between love and survival. You're not just in a gritty, what's going to happen movie the whole time, but it really is cross-cutting back and forth and balancing. The two should speak to each other. I have a young daughter, and I hope that she grows up and sees there are stories about strong, empowered women that can go and have their own adventures, that can survive unbelievable odds and, have the strength inside themselves to accomplish anything. And, I think that's what Moana and Adrift happen to, happy coincidence, both share, but there needs to be more of those kinds of stories. And so I hope people take that away, and also that, love can get you through anything.
First of all, I'm a sailor. I love the water, and then reading this, and after I read the screenplay and I started digging more into the real Tami, I saw a great opportunity to portray a real female hero, which we haven't seen much in survival stories. For some reason, women against nature have not been a theme in the movie history, So I thought this is a great opportunity. Here's a real story about a real hero. Don't have to put a cape on her. She's actually a real true hero. And I just wanted to get as deep into the story as possibly I could. And I loved also the fact this is also a love story, and the love story sheds a light on the survivor story. So it gives it more levity and more pleasure to watch it. So you're not kind of going only through the difficulties and being hungry and so you also get the best of times in Tahiti. I did this when I did Everest as well. I start in the most difficult elements. You strip down the actors, you make them raw and real, and then when you have to do the more technical stuff, the studio stuff, which is just I always do it in the end, and that's just to enhance things and where it's dangerous to do it on the open water or in the mountains. So, but they will carry that experience they've gone through already, and they can still be really kind of earthbound, and the gravity doesn't go away. Every day was a challenge, The weather would change every day, and it would change in the day. So what I told them, be prepared for any scene in the movie. We might have to change it, go from this to that, and we did that as much as we needed to. And so that was a challenge. Also, something I didn't really discuss that much with Shailene is that before shooting, I went shark diving, and I was swimming with 48 bull sharks around me. So I realized these waters are full of sharks, and we were shooting very close to it, but I didn't kind of discuss that with her. There were divers there, they weren't invited, the sharks weren't invited to set, so we tried to have divers around in case somebody would show up.
For me, I mean, the biggest challenge I think was actually looking like a seasoned sailor. You know, not only the actual sailing part, but also just physically kind of maneuvering around a boat. You know, I'd been on boats in my life, but I'd never really like lived on one or like experienced sailing, you know, proper sailing. So for me, that was difficult because the amount of times, because I wore no shoes the whole film. Like they gave me shoes initially, and I was like, oh, it's too much of a hassle. The amount of times I stubbed toes and, you know, like stood on the wrong thing. I mean, I lost count. I mean, I don't know if you've spent huge amounts of time on the water, but like, it's a very unpredictable beast, and we kind of had to resign ourselves and sort of hand ourselves over to Mother Nature. And thankfully, like, it kind of embraced us, and we were very lucky, I think, where we needed good weather, we kind of got good weather, and where we needed bad weather, we kind of had a bad weather. There was a few days where it went the other way, but I think we were then able to kind of shoot scenes, if it was raining, to, you know, shoot storm scenes and, you know, the scenes leading up to the storm, and then if it was a sunny, you know what I mean. So it kind of worked in our favour, but of course every day was different. Every day was so different, and we were relying so much on natural sunlight because we weren't shooting on a studio. We used natural light, and I think it's you know, it's crazy when you rely that heavily on Mother Nature because it is not in your control. I was coming off the back of a very dark and difficult job, and I think I needed something that had a little bit of levity. Even though there's definitely hard and upsetting moments in this film, I think the majority of it, I knew that it would be an adventure, like being on the water and being in Fiji and being with Shailene and having Balthazar at the helm, you know, like there were so many things, so many reasons that kind of drew me to this character. And I think the opportunity of just basically, as I say, this previous job, I was so far away from who I am as a person that I kind of really wanted to just be me for a little bit and kind of have some fun. So yeah, that was what, in truth, drew me to this part. But I think the fact that it's also an incredible true story is reason enough to get involved.
The biggest challenge was the self-inflicted pressure that I applied day in and day out to honor her story and to not stray from the narrative that she originally wanted to share with the world via her book. It was very important for Balthazar and I and Sam throughout the process of this movie to retain the integrity of her truth and of Richard's truth. And so I think the biggest challenge is simply not being overly anxious about what she thought, because you can make this movie for any audience, you can make it for critics, but ultimately we wanted to make this movie for her. I mean, there were moments where it felt pretty damn real. We did shoot over 90% of the movie in open ocean, and of course there are many trials and tribulations that come with that, changing weather patterns, seasickness, sharks, you know, there's a lot of natural elements that are involved that are uncontrollable factors. But I feel like that only aided to the experience. And when you watch this movie, and one of the reasons I think it's so amazing to watch it in theaters is you feel like you're on the ocean with them, and you can't achieve that if you film in a tank. You can't achieve that if you film with green screen. And this movie sucks you in because you know, nature is so potent and powerful, and you feel that when you watch it. I was extremely drawn to the love component of this story. Survival, the survival element is there. You don't have to talk it up. You don't have to make it something it's not, because it's so real and it's so obvious. But the romance is something that I fell in love with their love. You know, I do believe Richard and Tami are soulmates and had a very divine connection on whatever level that meant for them. But as someone from the outside experiencing it, you can feel the essence of their love and how that love was ultimately the mechanism that helped survival ensue. I wasn't originally a producer on this movie. It organically happened as the experience ensued. It was, I think, more, you know, I'm so passionate about it from an actor's perspective, but also it was really important to me to protect, again, the integrity of Tami from what the script was in the beginning to the marketing of the movie. I feel that this woman who's next to me right now is so trusting, and she trusted us with such a degree of kindness and generosity that I wanted to honor that as best as possible.
I was overwhelmed with emotion, and it was such a great portrayal brought on by Shailene and Sam. Oh my gosh, it was just, I just wept at times, and it's hard not to. And then, but I'm so proud of the movie. I think it really came out nice. I think they honored my story very well, and in the situation that we were in. So it was. I'm very pleased. We Skyped a lot before the movie started, and then to kind of get to know each other a little bit, and her, but I didn't want, she formulated in her mind through the script and that sort of thing of how she was going to perform me. And so when I went to Fiji and was on set and that sort of thing, I didn't want to intimidate her. I wanted to stay back. I didn't want her to feel funny that I was there. So, but she is so down to earth, and we have become really good friends, and she's just such a love, and she just did such a terrific job. I want people to be inspired by this story. I want women especially to know that even in their toughest times that they can get through hard situations, and there's that strength within us that we have to dig deep and find when we are in in turmoil.
I'm just watching the pictures, and then I'm talking, of course, with the director about his feelings and his approach, and then mostly I sit down on the piano and I write music to it, and then of course I send it to him, and then he says, I like this, I don't like this, I hate that, I love that. And then we go back and create more music